Welcome, everyone, to give you a high-level overview of the MDS RapidPay system. There are two main components to the core RapidPay system. It's the ability to automate your invoice processing. So I'm going to log in first as an AP staff member. One of the things that RapidPay does is it helps to eliminate a lot of the manual data entry that you are currently doing. Customers have reported to us that it saves them up to 80% and sometimes more of data entry. It does use OCR, so it learns to read off of those invoices, and I'll show you how that works, which allows for just much faster, more accurate AP processing. It's also built into the MDS core accounting system, so it's pulling directly from your vendor preference settings for things like insurance expirations or terms on the vendor or your default expense accounts, things like that. I will also be logging in as an approver. So you can set up, based upon your business requirements, multi-level approvals based upon how invoices need to get routed. Everything from dollar thresholds, invoice types, roles, categories. Categories are user definable, by the way. There's a full audit of the entire life cycle of the invoice, and it allows you to ensure compliance and accountability, no lost invoices. And I'll also show you how you can incorporate the images of those invoices into your monthly report packages and through other reporting as well. So I'm going to share my screen. And as I mentioned, I'm logging in as an AP staff member, and the first thing I'm going to do is I can scan or upload invoices into the system. There's a lot of other things you can do here. For instance, if you're sorting your invoices before you scan them or upload them, duplex, multi-pages, maybe they're all first, you're sorted by company, et cetera. You can do all that here. I'm going to leave it blank for now. I'm going to select my document type, which is going to be a standard invoice. Standard invoice is going to be the bulk of the invoices that you scan in. However, we do have templates, for instance, like New York City Water Board or other utility type invoices. So the difference is maybe a Con Ed invoice, it's going to pull all of the usage information, whereas standard invoices, it doesn't have all of those fields. We're going to stick to standard for now. The other thing that I want to point out is these categories are user definable. This is what drives, or part of what drives, the approval workflow. So for instance, if I select repairs as my category, I know that with repairs, I have multiple levels of people that need to approve those invoices, whereas utility, it's automatically approved. So I'm going to go ahead and hit upload. And the first thing is the system's going to do is allow me to view them quickly, just to make sure that the way I scan them in is the way I want them entered into the system. For instance, it's automatically going to insert a page break after every page if I didn't indicate differently in that first screen. But say, for instance, these two pages belong to the same invoice, I could simply click on that and it will associate these two pages, and now it's one. That's not the case here. So I'm going to click on it again to insert that page break again. I'm going to hit finish. If you have a lot of invoices you're scanning in, you could either do it from the top or the bottom. So this is basically saying all invoices have successfully been validated. Do you want to send these invoices to MDS Explorer for final verification? That means out of the 7 invoices that I scanned in, it actually read them all. I'm going to hit cancel here because I want you to see what they look like. So without doing any data entry, the system was able to know what company, vendor, invoice number, due date, invoice type, expense account, etc. It pulled it all. How does it know? The very first time that you're scanning those invoices into the system, it may be able to read things like invoice date, invoice number, dollar amount, right? Because it does use OCR. However, there's no way for it to know the first time what building code it should be associated to in your MDS software system, or what vendor it's associated to. You have to teach it. You teach it one time, and the way you do that is you select from your list of companies, right? Your whole company list is going to be here. And then you say, okay, now that I select BC Tower as my company, I'm going to highlight anywhere on the invoice that indicates what represents that company. So the bill to is what I'm looking for. And now it says, okay, BC Tower in this section on the invoice read as bill to BC Tower, and it's associated to company BC Tower in my MDS system. You would do the same thing for vendor. Okay, and so that's how it learns. Now, once everything is coded, I can hit finish. and proceed. So that's all you need to do from an AP perspective is once you start using it, make sure like the first 1 or 2 months, there's a little bit of teaching, but then once you get past that, it does eliminate a tremendous amount of your data entry. It won't pick up things like manual invoices or hard to read carbon copies, things like that. So now I'm going to shift gears and log in from the perspective of an approver. Typically, an approver was going to receive an email because oftentimes they're not in front of a computer. They might be out in the field or traveling or going from property to property. So they'll get an email that says, you have invoices that require your approval. Click on this link. It'll take them to their dashboard. These are the invoices that I have to approve, not all of the invoices that need approval, just the ones that I need to approve. And they can be in different stages. So I can go ahead and click on any one of these. I could have from that list sorted by company, by vendor, etc. And so now I can't edit anything here, but I can approve or reject. So I'm going to go ahead and this invoice looks good. This is basically saying, are you sure you want to approve this invoice for payment? And if you have a lot of invoices that require your approval, if you don't want to get that, are you sure every time, you could simply say, do not ask again for this session. So now it's going to allow me to continue approving the remaining invoices that require my approval. I could reject an invoice. I could ask for a correction or send it back to the AP staff. I could reject and do not pay. It's going to force me to put a reject reason here. If I have a question about the invoice, I could send a message to somebody within the AP staff. Was this work done? Is there a contract? Was there a receipt? So now that message is going to stay with that invoice, right? So there's an audit of the communication going back and forth. You can also assign a tenant chargeback if you wanted to. So if this is caused by damage in an apartment and you want to create a chargeback to the tenant, you're able to do that from the screen. You can track the entire life cycle of when it was initially scanned in, when it was coded. Right now it's pending my approval. And that invoice audit stays with the invoice as well. Message log is all of the communication back and forth. A couple of other things that you can do very quickly. If I needed to upload additional attachments to that image, so maybe a receipt or contract or something else, you can do that. If I needed to download, if I want to zoom in or out, you can do that. And lastly, I'll point out this annotation tool. Oftentimes they're doing this process manually. They're getting their invoices. They have a lot of people that need to approve. The invoices get routed. They get stamped when they were entered, and then they're getting sorted, and people like to mark them up. Some customers requested a markup tool, so that's what the annotation is for. So that basically stays an image on top of an image. So you can run reports with the annotations or without the annotations. But from an approver's perspective, 90% of the time, you're either going to approve invoices, and maybe you may have some that you have to reject or modify. But that's basically it from an approver's perspective. Very easy. Now I'm going to log out of RapidPay, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in MDS Aspire. So I am on in MDS Aspire query vouchers screen, and I can filter or sort by anything that I want. Maybe I want to see all of the open invoices for a particular vendor that are pending approval. I can do that. Or maybe I want to run invoices just for a specific company. Right now, I'm defaulting to open invoices that are pending approval. I can click on any one of these. It lets me know on the invoice screen itself that it is pending approval, and I could click on this track invoice button to see who it's waiting to be approved by this user. So you have your full query vouchers. You can filter, slice, and dice search for whatever you're looking for, which is really helpful. And then the last thing I want to point out is reporting. So Adam mentioned that you can include the images of those invoices in your monthly report packages. We do have a report called Paid Images, and you can include that report into your report package. In order to run the report packages, you go to Reports, Report Packager, select the package that you want to run. So I want to do my sample package. I want to run it for BC Tower, and I want to run it for this period. By the way, I could continue Inspire. You can run multiple reports at the same time. That's not something you could do in MDS Explorer, but I can go ahead and say yes and run additional packages. I don't want to do that now. I just want to go to view my reports. And this is going to let me know anything that's processing, what's been viewed today, recent history. So this is an example of what the report package can look like with the images of those invoices. So here's, many of you are familiar with this already, but I'm just going to go to the end where I have some images. So this is the report we were talking about, images of paid invoices for whatever period you're running it for. And these are all pulling from RapidPay. So in conclusion, RapidPay eliminates a lot of your data entry by using the OCR. It will allow you to create approval workflows based upon your business process and gives you full visibility and transparency. It helps to automate preparing those monthly report packages as well. It saves a lot of time in having to find the copies and attach them to those report packages. From any perspective, whether you're drilling down from the GL or querying vouchers in the system, you could always drill down to the underlying transactions. If you would like to see a deeper dive of the MDS RapidPay system, please do not hesitate to reach out to either myself or your account executive, and we'll be happy to give you a demonstration of how the system works.